Hi, this is Joe again with another review. And for the sake of this video, I'm going to be discussing uh, wrestling here for you. Uh, Sometimes I do go into wrestling talking about in my videos, those of you who are my subscribers. And because previously I have talked about like WrestleMania and stuff like that. But for this video, I'm going to be discussing an event, a pay-per-view event that's coming up in the end of this week. And that's of course the 30th Royal Rumble. As a matter of fact, the day I'm actually doing this video and hopefully get uploaded today is on the 29th anniversary of the very first Royal Rumble, which was on January 24th, 1988. And at that time it was like 20 wrestlers in it. And it was, I think it was the only time in the 30 years of this event that you had just 20 wrestlers. Because for the next year after that, from 1989 all the way up to now, you had 30, at least 30. Sometimes you had, I think, 40. I think one year you had 50 wrestlers in one Royal Rumble match. But for 1988, you only had 20. Of course, this event, the very first Royal Rumble, was the only one that was on a pay-per-view. Every year since, it's been on, it's been on pay-per-view. And of course, this one was centered on the Hulk Hogan Andre the Giant feud. Because the last couple of months on the Saturday Night's main event shows, Andre the Giant made it known that he wanted a rematch with Hulk Hogan. And of course, during the course of that year, 1987, you had the famous match at WrestleMania 3, when you had the controversial moment within the first couple of minutes, where Hogan tried to slam Andre, and Andre fell on him, and it was like a quick 3 count, and of course, at the very same moment that the referee's hand went down the mat for the third time, that's when Hogan's shoulder went up, and of course, instead of saying, hey, it was a 3 count, the referee said, no, it was a 2 count. And so, of course, for the course of that year, you had this big controversy with the 3 count, and Andre insisted, no, I was actually champ, and I got screwed. The referee screwed me. I'm still undefeated. Because one of the purpose of that match was a 15-minute. Andre the Giant was undefeated for 15 years. So in the course of that year, Andre was insisting on running a rematch because for WrestleMania 2, they didn't really right away have a rematch with King Kong Bundy after the WrestleMania 2 match with Hogan. So Andre didn't want to get screwed like King Kong Bundy got screwed. So yes, I know that Bundy and Hogan had a match at WrestleMania and Saturday Night's main event, 2 consecutive Saturday Night's main event shows, and Andre interfered, I think, in the second match between Hogan and Bundy. I don't want to gloss over that fact. And of course, the second match was the famous clip where Andre was choking Hogan down in the middle of the ring. So they said, okay, let's have a rematch. So they had this contract signed at the Royal Rumble, and the very first Royal Rumble, which was on the USA Network. And that got like a huge ring, like about 24 million people tuned in to watch that show. And I think just because of the Hogan Andre contract signing, and it was a huge, they hyped that more than the actual Royal Rumble match itself. Of course, they also had other matches on that card as well. And the irony is, the first Royal Rumble show did not end with the Royal Rumble match. It actually ended with the tag team match with the Islanders and Power with a tag team match with the Islanders and the Young Stallions. That was the last match on the night, and not the Royal Rumble. Believe it or not. But I think the best match of the whole night, other than the Rumble match itself, which I'm going to discuss, was a women's tag team title match between the Jumping Bomb Angels with like 2 Japanese lady wrestlers versus the Glamour Gals, who were managed by Jimmy the Mouth of the South Hoy. And the irony is that Jimmy Hart was the only uh, manager in the WWF universe at that time who were managing women wrestlers. The only one that I can remember that ever managed women wrestlers. Uh, so that was unique, and that was a 2 hour 3-4 match, and the Jumping Bomb Angels won. For the what the Royal Rumble match is, for you novices out there, there's you start off instead of typical battle royal where you have all 20 wrestlers or 30, whatever the number is, all the wrestlers in the ring at the same time to start the match. You start off, you have like a drawing, and for numbers 1 through 20, or now it's 30 guys, so 1 to 30, and the ones who draw numbers 1 and 2 start the match, and every 2 minutes, at the time that the Royal Rumble store was like every 2 minutes you have a different wrestler. The one who draws number 3 will come in like 2 minutes later and come in, and then another 2 minutes. Wrestler draw number 4. It'll be like every 2 minutes until when all 20 wrestlers eventually get into the ring. I think now they shorten the time to about, sometimes it was like a minute and a half, or a minute. Nowadays, because they to get through the match faster, they shorten the time on how long a wrestler gets in there. I think now it's like about a minute or a minute and a half now. Originally for the first few years was usually 2 minutes. The first two guys go at it for 2 minutes, and put on a pretty good show, and then you have wrestler number 3 come in. So for the first, like I said, for the first Royal Rumble was like only 20 guys, and the very first winner was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Now many people remember the Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Many people remember like the bigger names that won, like The Undertaker. Hulk Hogan won it twice. As a matter of fact, Hogan was the only one the first wrestler went back-to-back years. The Undertaker won. Shawn Michaels won. Rey Mysterio has won. I'm talking about the modern era. When I mean the modern era, at least the last 10, 15 years of the Rumble, people remember the big names like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin won. You have all these big names, The Rock won, and all that stuff. All these guys, big names today, has won it. Batista won. I think a couple of times Rey Mysterio won. I think Kurt Angle might have won one. But when the Royal Rumble first started, they didn't have the stipulation that you have now, which I want to get into. When Hacksaw Jim Duggan won, I figured, okay, you have to pick like one guy who you thought would never win this type of a match, or any kind of battle royal, really. And it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, only with dumb luck, because he fell. As he fell, he grabbed the top rope, and the one-man gang, who was like about 450, almost 500-pound guy, was charging at him to squash him in the ring, over against the ropes. And he was charging and all Hacksaw did was like grab the rope, and he fell, and one-man gang fell over, and that's how Hacksaw won. Of course, he did have a lot of Hall of Fame wrestlers in the first match. You had Dina Bravo, you had you had Davey Boy Smith, you had Tito Santana, you had the Hart Foundation in there, you had, I'm talking about Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart was in it, you had Rick Martel, you had Harley Race, you also had the Junkyard Dog was in this thing, you had Hillbilly Jim, so you had a lot of big names and future WWF Hall of Famers were in this match. Now, of course, the next year they did the same thing. They had, this time it was a little bit more organized. The second year, you had the four individual matches before you had the Royal Rumble match, and the Royal Rumble match did, in fact, finish it. And of course, they had no stipulation of the winner picks against the championship match in WrestleMania. They put that as a stipulation, which eventually I'll get into that. I'm doing an overview of the Royal Rumble, So I'm going to go through these things fast. In 1989, Big John Studd came back to WWF, who was away for a couple of years. He hasn't even been in a big wrestling event in about 3 years. He wasn't even in WrestleMania 3 or 4. And he came back in the end of 1988 into the beginning of 1989, and he got into the Royal Rumble match, and he unexpectedly won. So, and that was the last real big win that Big John Studd had, even though he was involved in a match of WrestleMania 5. Then also, he was a special guest referee in the Andre the Giant Jake the Snake match in WrestleMania 5, and of course he disqualified Andre, and of course Andre and Studd got into the old, wrestling fans from the 80s knows they had a big feud, the two of them. And this time, Andre was the heel, and John Studd was the babyface. And they did that, renewed the rivalry for about 3 seconds, and that took care of that. And then of course, I think Big John Studd, I think he died of cancer, I think. Like a few years later. But of course, in 1990 and 91, Hogan won the excuse me. Hogan won the Royal Rumble, and it was the first time that, I think when he won in 1990, he was at that time when he won the Rumble in 1990 and into 91, he wasn't the champ then, but he won back to back years, which was, and WWF always pushed Hogan, especially in those years, and there was towards the end of his original run in the WWF. But the 1991 Rumble, it was the first time that the winner eventually got, even though it was unofficially, got a title shot in WrestleMania. It was the unofficial start of it. Because in 91, one of the 4 matches that took place before the actual Rumble match was the match between the Ultimate Warrior, who was champ in January 91, wrestling Sergeant Slaughter, who was the heel, who was the Iraqi sympathizer then. As a matter of fact, what a lot of people didn't know was that, which I mentioned in my WrestleMania 7 review, so check it out if you haven't seen it, that Slaughter had to wear a bulletproof vest underneath his wrestling attire because he was getting death threats. I'm not kidding. Sergeant Slaughter, who was the Roy who played himself in the G.I. Joe cartoon, had to wear a bulletproof vest underneath his wrestling gear because of the death threats. Beat the Ultimate Warrior in the last match before the Rumble match itself. Beat the Ultimate Warrior with a little help from Randy Savage. We set up the Randy Savage Warrior match in WrestleMania 7. And of course, he had Hogan win the Rumble in WrestleMania 7. Of course, the next year, 1992, which was of course the first time, I think it happened once before then, or once since, I should say. I think once or twice since, that the WWF title was actually vacant. Because of what happened between the Ultimate with The Undertaker and Hogan in the Survivor Series, and another event they had after that called Tuesday in Texas. We had Ric Flair interfere twice. Once in the Survivor Series, and Hogan lost the title to The Undertaker, and about 5 days later, Hogan got it back from interfering and using a foreign object. So the President Jack Tunney says, "Look, I'm going to have to declare the title vacant and have the winner of the Royal Rumble be the new champ, or the undisputed champ." So you had 30 guys. Of course, the last 2 guys that went in were The Undertaker and Hogan. I think Hogan got number 30. But as a matter of fact, I should go back a little bit. For the 1999 Rumble, which I mentioned, talked about, they had a controversial thing in there with the $1 Million Man. Of course, and recently, the $1 Million Man celebrated his 63rd birthday. Holy God, I can't believe the guy is 63 years old. He paid to have number 30 in 1989 Rumble. So in 1990, they made a rule and said, okay, you're going to be number one to DiBiase. So right away, he like eliminated like the first three guys. Like the first guy came in and threw like Tio Santana, I think it was, he threw him out right away. So okay, bring in the next guy. Because they didn't want to wait for the 2 minutes were even up for the next guy to come in. And so the next guy came in a little bit earlier. He threw him out. DiBiase threw the guy out. So they hit the third guy, the fourth guy came in. He threw him out. I mean, it was hilarious. And so like, and DiBiase said, okay, there's a piece of cake. And then eventually, of course, halfway through the match, about 3 minutes into it, DiBiase got thrown out. Okay. So back to the 92 Rumble. Ric Flair, who is now in the WWF now, after being so many years in the NWA and WCW, was calling himself the real world champ. As a matter of fact, he was actually carrying the actual championship belt from WCW because he hijacked it into the WWF. As a matter of fact, there were times, I don't know if it's on YouTube, but you can see matches where the WWF digitally blurred out the WCW logo on Flair's championship belt. Okay, so so he came in at number 3 and he stayed in the Rumble match all the way through, and then he won the title, the WWF title, at the 92 Royal Rumble. And of course, he eventually wrestled, not Hulk Hogan, as he should have been. If you see my review of WrestleMania 8, you'll see why. Or the Off the Ropes show guy, or the Shag Daddy, who did this review, he also complained about the same thing I did. He wrestled Randy Savage for WrestleMania 8, and Savage beat him. Of course, of course, all the years since, it was usually whoever wins will get the championship match in WrestleMania. I think it was 93 was Yokozuna. Bret Hart was the champ then. Then you had the controversy in the 94 Rumble with Bret Hart and the guy who killed Miss Elizabeth, Lex Luger, coming against a tie. Instead of restoring the match, just say let's have both of them have a championship match at WrestleMania 10, which was stupid. Because Bret Hart actually had 3 matches that night, which was really stupid, in my opinion. Then you had, and then it went on and on and on with different that bet with whoever gets a championship match, and WrestleMania. Of course, when in 2001, when Vince McMahon bought out WCW, now he has 2 championship matches: the regular WWF title, heavyweight title, and what was called the World Championship title for WCW, because they call it the World Heavyweight Championship from WCW. So now you're going to decide who, and now again you have two titles. You have the SmackDown title on the regular WWE Championship, and the Universal Championship, which is a brand new title the WWF came up with. Now I bet you're going to see a guy. They say, okay, which title is going to go for, the WWF, the SmackDown title, or the Universal title? You can see it coming already. On how that's going to be done. But I always thought the Royal Rumble was one of the more fun and I'm not saying that much about it now. Because I liked it better in the early years when you didn't have focus on the winner going to WrestleMania or getting a match. Because they usually get a match like almost right away. If the winner usually gets like an Intercontinental title or the heavyweight title almost right away. After like in February when they have a Saturday's main event show, or the regular house shows like the Madison Square Garden or Nassau Coliseum or the Boston Garden or Maple Leaf Gardens or wherever else the WWF had a show. May have had a match between the Royal Rumble winner and whoever the champ is at the time. It was usually either Hogan or the IC title or something. Nowadays it's the heavyweight title, WrestleMania, the main event WrestleMania, and it's not. They should get rid of it. It's like baseball just got rid of the bet have the winner of the All-Star game has home field advantage in the World Series. You should get rid of this bid rate because this bid's going over for over 20 years now, since 1992. For 25 years they had this bid, and if really should get rid of it. Just have the fans enjoy the Rumble match itself as a novelty thing, and it is the third oldest pay-per-view in the WWF history following WrestleMania and the Survivor Series. But, I still feel the Royal Rumble match itself is an enjoyable thing because to see if you do get all I don't think it's ever happened when you get all 30 wrestlers at the same time, eventually within the time limits of the match, because you never had. I don't think you ever had all 30 guys, all 3 wrestlers in the ring at the same time. But I'd like to see it happen just once. So that's my review of the Royal Rumble. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on it, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can watch all my videos not only on my YouTube channel, but at rallyc.com, that's all WDY, C.com. The homepage of the Rally Reviewer, Chris Lee Moore. Check out all of his content on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.